Good afternoon, morning, evening, or night, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Alex, and this episode's subject comes in from Chaotic Sloth. What game companies do you hold with the highest respect and least respect for whatever the reasons? So, this is an interesting question because I've got a few choices here, 3 or 4 for each one for the positive and negative. So, let's start with the positive because it's always nice to start that way and bring it down hard later on. So, say what you want about Destiny. Bungie. I've always had this reserved respect for them, being the creators of Halo, from all the way from Halo 1 till 3 to ODST to Reach. With Bungie, you just know they're gonna. Maybe they do. They're the shooter people, aren't they? They're good at shooters. That's their thing. But you know there's going to be a certain level of polish and this certain level of charm as well. Like Destiny being the weird one, because I feel like. I don't know about Destiny. I think with the sequels to Destiny, we're going to really learn what Bungie is really capable of, because there are all the stories about the weird things going behind the scenes there. So I don't know if it's fair to totally criticize them, because Destiny's still like a well sort of designed game, as in terms of the gameplay and the way everything's presented and the graphical fidelity in there. So yeah, Bungie, I've always had a soft spot for Bungie because they feel like. They've always come across to me like they are real people, until Activision sort of got their mitts on them. They've always felt like they were real people. They had a sense of humor about things. And speaking about sense of humor, I can move on to my next one quite nicely, which is Rockstar. Rockstar, well, I only really sort of started playing Rockstar games in the last 2 or 3 years, starting with Red Dead Redemption, which is now one of my all-time favorite games. They're the king of sort of like, yo, we have just unlimited amounts of money. Let's just pile it into making these games that no one else can make. Like, look at GTA 5 when that came out. That was like, oh my god, how does this even run on a 360 or a PS3? I mean, the world is. They make these new worlds. They do better each time. And the only one thing I've played of theirs I didn't really like very much was Max Payne 3, but that's like a different style of game. I don't feel like they're quite as good. They're good at shooting, third person shooting and all that, but I don't feel like they're quite as good with the more linear sort of like Naughty Dog style of games, where it's very directed. I prefer the way they make these. The worlds they make feel like real worlds. Like you have these games like the Arkham games and things which are all really good games, but the worlds that you're in, they don't quite feel alive. But Rockstar have it down for the realistic traffic, the realistic crowds and everything. And that's the thing I respect them the most for. And speaking of, what was it? The Arkham games, and another Rockstar, Rocksteady, the Arkham games. I feel like you need to appreciate a company that can invent and reinvigorate a certain style of gameplay, because before the Arkham games, really with the Arkham games, they did invent this really sort of, wait, how does this not exist before style of gameplay there, with the free flow combat, they call it, where it is like a really simple idea that is just amazing that no one had really refined it to that point before then. And I think look at all the games now that copy it. It's reinvigorated that whole thing, and it was like one of the first. Hey, look, we can make a game based on a comic property. Boom, like the first X-Men movie. It's like, hey, look, we got this new thing here, and it works. We can make it work, so now everyone copies it, everyone loves it, and Arkham Knight's probably going to be amazing as well. And finally, on the good studios here, I'm going to end it with Naughty Dog. Sure, I got some problems with a couple of things they do here and there, but I respect the fact that they're really focused in on what they're good at. They know what they're good at, and they do it in strides. Like The Last of Us and Uncharted are very linear, focused sort of storytelling experiences, and it's, you have the two sides, don't you? You have the open world craziness like Skyrim and all that, where it's just you do what you want, and then there's the complete opposite side of the coin, which is the, hey, just go down these paths, and we're going to tell you what to do. And I've got some weird problems with storytelling in games on both sides of the coin, but that being said, Naughty Dog are the best at it. In my opinion, the way they tell the stories, especially The Last of Us, that's probably the best sort of go down an aisle, kill some baddies, have a cutscene style of storytelling in a game. I think I've seen, wrapping my brain. I think The Last of Us has sort of marked a point as like, look, we can tell stories in games now that are equally as good as TV and movies, and it's almost even better because you're interacting with it. Maybe you're not making choices in it, but you are interacting with it, and it does get to go over like 15 hours, which is like a whole season and a half of a TV show or even longer, and way more involved than a movie. So you can really get delve deep into characters. So enough of all the good stuff. Let's move on to the companies that I have just not much respect for. And these ones are, at least 3 of the 4 I have here, they're far more broad than the very specific actual developers that I mentioned in the respect category, because these big companies, like I'll just start with Activision, okay? Activision, I hate their business practices. They're money-wise, they know what they're doing. They know how to make money. They know how to release games, how to market games, how to get the highest profit possible, which means they are kind of scummy in terms of, this series isn't making a high enough profit. Even if it is making profit, it doesn't matter. It needs to be high enough, and they need to be able to project a high enough profit forecast for them to consider it even worth doing. So you have like fun things like Prototype, which they just scrap because even if they are monetarily bringing in some cash, it's just not enough for them, so they just scrap it. It's like, okay, see a Guitar Hero, see a Prototype, and yeah, there are all these things about they have this overpriced DLC. They maybe pull things back from and restrict their developers. I just don't. They're just sort of a scummy. They're unlike what I was saying about Bungie. It's weird because Activision are the total opposite of how Bungie used to be. They feel like a company. They don't feel like people. They feel like this big, unstoppable machine. So when they get hold of Bungie, it's weird. It's like both sides clashing against each other, and it feels strange and unnatural. And going on naturally from Activision is, of course, EA. EA. I think EA is, people just automatically go, "Oh, EA sucks. I hate EA." But there was a time where they were taking risks with things like Dead Space and Mirror's Edge and stuff. And they were making some good games, but they also invented like the online passes and pulling DLC from games like Mass Effect and all that, which might not have been there if it was with another publisher and stuff. And they just don't. They've done their good and bad things, and the bad, it probably does outweigh the good a little bit at the moment, but they are improving, I think, EA. It's like the opposite of Ubisoft, actually, which is my third pick here. Because Ubisoft were always like, yeah, I really like that company. They have their tentpole like Far Cry's and Assassin's Creed, which they are annualizing, but they also take these risks like Child of Light and Valiant Hearts and all these things. But now they just, especially last year, it's like, hey, have all these games which are broken, because we have these release dates that we set, and we have to do it no matter what. We don't delay anything, and that's starting to piss me off. Now I'm fed up with this. Hopefully they learn from this. Like I wanna like all the Ubisoft things, but I really just can't. I lost a lot of respect for them with the whole just all the games being broken thing. And I'm going a bit long on this one, so finally let me just round this off with Gearbox. I know everyone loves Borderlands. Everyone fucking loves it. But think about in the last 5-10 years, Aliens, Colonial Marines, Duke Nukem Forever, and Randy Pitchford. It's Randy Pitchford. He seems just so arrogant to me, the way he's like, hey, we've got these 2 just fucking terrible games, atrocious games, Aliens, Colonial Marines, and Duke Nukem. Hey, we know they're bad. We know they suck. Let's trick people, lie in all the advertisements about how good it is and stuff, and then shit it out, sell millions of copies on the name alone. And that is scummy. That sucks. That is terrible that they did that. And while Borderlands are, they are better games. They are far better games than obviously those ones. It's just, hey, we're the Borderlands studio. That's all we do. That's our moneymaker. Hey, have it on Xbox One now. So boring. So boring to me. But anyway, so what do you think then about what are some of your favourites? What are some of your least favourites? Tell me in the comments below. And as always, thanks for watching. All comments and ratings are very much appreciated. And make sure you leave suggestions for future Jar Blabs. I'll see you next time. Bye. Imagine that these movies came out on their own. It's weird to think like this, but if they did come out before Lord of the Rings, if the Lord of the Rings wasn't a thing, would people be so critical of it? Because I feel like a lot of people compare it to the grand story that is Lord of the Rings, because Lord of the Rings is the story of Middle-earth. That is the pinnacle of the big epic filmmaking that you're going to get there. And The Hobbit is a smaller story, and the way they sort of adapted it using all the extra elements from